So hi, this is Professor Mary from Rowan College of South Jersey, and this is the video about homework number 2. And I've already opened up the file. It's called Homework 2, Hawk Flying, and we have a fairly long and short stage timeline, and then over here we've got our properties in our library. And when we go to our library, you're going to see that we already have the images already into the library, including the land and sky, which is going to go on to the as the background element. So I'm going to drag that over first. And when an object is in the library, it's called a symbol, and when I drag it onto the stage, it's called an instance. So I'm just going to put this right smack in the center. Now you notice that I didn't name my layer yet, so I'm going to go ahead and double click on my layer. I'm going to name it. And I'm going to call it background, and then press return. You'll notice that this background is on frame 1, and we want this background to stay on frame from frame 1 all the way out to frame 192. So I'm going to come out here to 192, which is actually the 8-second mark. So I'm going to click there, then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to insert a keyframe. Now that's going to keep this background on the screen at all times. Now that I've done with this background, I'm going to go ahead and lock it. That way I can't mess it up. Now I'm going to go ahead and make another new layer, and I'm going to call it Hawk. Now what we're going to do in order to get the hawk to fly is we want to create something called a movie clip. So in Animate, there's 3 types of symbols. So we go to Insert and say New Symbol. There are 3 types of symbols. There are movie clips, there are buttons, and then there are graphics. Now what we're going to want to do with this hawk is we're going to want to create a movie clip. And in that movie clip, we're going to want the hawk to fly and flap its wings. So I'm going to call this Flying Hawk. And I like to put in MC so that I know that it's a movie clip by looking at it. Now I click OK, and my background disappears. Now if you notice up here at the top it says Scene 1 Flying Hawk Movie Clip. We are in the sub-animation timeline for the movie clip called Flying Hawk. So the background is actually on Scene 1, and we're now going to sequence and make the hawk on this timeline. You'll see down here we have another timeline, and the layer's not named right, so I'm going to call it Hawk. And I'm going to click on frame 1, and I'm going to come over and bring over Hawk 1 from my library. I'm going to move this symbol over. Alright. Now I'm going to use my align tools to align it. Now according to the instructions, the Hawk 1 is going to be on the stage for frame 1 and 2. So in order to get that to work, I'm going to click on frame 2, and I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to go insert a keyframe. Now that goes and puts the Hawk 1 in frame 1 and frame 2. Now I'm going to do the same thing in frame 3, even though we're going to switch it out to Hawk number 2, and I'm going to show you a trick on how to do this. So I go to frame number 3, I insert a keyframe. Now this is still Hawk number 1. If I switch over to my properties, you're going to see that it says Hawk 1. Now in properties, when I click on the bird on the stage and I come over here, it should say instance of Hawk 1, and then it should say swap. If you don't see this, you have to make sure you click on the bird on the stage, and then you should see this. Now what I really want to do is I want to take the bird 1 out, and I want to swap it out for Hawk 2. So I'm going to click on that, and here's Hawk 2, and I'm going to hit OK, and now that put in Hawk 2. So this is the Hawk 2 instance. We're going to keep Hawk 2 on for 3 and 4, and then in 5 we're going to make another keyframe, and I'm going to swap this one out for Hawk 3. I'm going to keep it in 5 and 6, and then in frame 7, oops, wrong one, There you go, frame 7. I'm going to insert a keyframe. I'm going to click on the bird. I'm going to go over and I'm going to swap him out for Hawk 4. Click on 7, insert a keyframe. Click on frame 8, insert a keyframe. Click, and I'm going to swap them out for frame 5, for Hawk 5. I'm going to do the same thing for 10. Then I'm going to click on frame 11, insert a keyframe. Click on this, swap them out for 5 to 6. Put a keyframe in 12. Insert a keyframe at 13. Click on the bird, swap them out for 7. Click on 14, insert a keyframe. In 15, I'm going to insert another keyframe, click on this, swap it out for number 8. That's going to be in 15 and 16. And then in 17, we're going to swap them out for Hawk number 9. And we're going to make sure that we put another keyframe in frame 18. Alright, so now we've put the Hawk in sequence. I'm going to rewind this and see how it looks. So it doesn't look so good, and I'm going to turn on this little button right here called Loop, and I'm going to take the little slider and slide it so it's playing all the frames. So when I look at this, I'm going to hit, and you'll see how the bird goes up and down. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to use the onion skin tool so that just the wings flap, that he doesn't go up and down. So we're going to do that next. Alright, so the bird right now, when we play this, is flapping up and down, and that's really not what we want. We want the body to stay at the same place and just have the wings go up and down. So I'm going to turn off the loop, and I'm going to turn on this choice right here, which is called onion skinning. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm actually going to only do 2 frames at a time, or actually, well, 4 frames, because it's... Now, when I click on this, this is the bird in frame 1 and 2, and this is the bird in frame 3 and 4. And so what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to use the eye and the head as the place that's going to stay the same. So that's going to stay here. I'm going to move that back up so it's all in the same position. So I'm going to try to get them all so they line up at the same exact location and there's no up and down. We want the bird's head basically to stay in the same location. So instead of flapping up and down, we want it just to stay, the eye and the beak to stay basically stable, and we only really want the bird's wings to go up. So I'm going to have to change all the positions of this. Now another way I could do this is probably I could use the line tools. So I'm going to go through each frame and make sure the bird is lined up on that beak. Because the only thing I really want to move is the wings. I just want the wings to flap up and down. Now with a graphic like this, you're going to have to do this frame by frame lining up. Again, you could probably use the align tool. Alright, so let's see how this works. So I'm going to turn on looping again, and I'm going to hit play. So it's still going up and down a little bit. I need to turn back on onion skin. See what's going on here. Getting a little bit better, so this one's okay, this one's okay, this one's okay, this one's up, there we go, that one goes up, so I'm going to put this one down a little bit, I'm going to put this one down a little bit. So it might take a couple times of doing this to get it fine-tuned, so you can get them all lined up. And the other thing we don't want is the bird to be going forward and backwards at all. There's the one that was kind of messing us up right there. Now, in order to get animations like this to work, we have to do this, what we call frame-by-frame animation. There's no getting around it. It would be nice if we could just go poof, tween it, but in this case, this type of complex animation, we're going to have to do frame by frame. So remember, there's two types of animation. There's frame-by-frame animation, and then there's the tween animation. Now, there's going to be plenty of times that we'll be able to use the tween animation, but this is just not going to be one of them. All right, so I'm just going to get this line back up. And a little movement is going to be fine, just we just don't want drastic going up and down. And what will be funny is if you forget just one frame, it will fly up and then down and be still and then fly up and then go down. So we want to get them all lined up correctly. Oops, I have to click on the right frame, move it down. And by the way, I'm using the keyboard tools to move these. I'm using the arrow tools. All right, so let's turn it on loop, and let's hit play. There we go. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now we're getting a little bit movement up and down in terms of or forward to back, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to turn on onion skin, and I'm going to continue to refine this until it's absolutely perfect. So I've worked out a little bit on the with the onion skin, and now I'm going to loop it and show you how it works. So there it is. It's going up and down a little bit because the bird does go up and down a little bit as it flies. So again, the way we accomplish that is we use this tool called onion skin, and it lets you see multiple frames in kind of a ghosted fashion. And then we loop the playback by hitting this button. So now it's time to take our bird and actually have him fly across the screen. So to accomplish that, we're going to click on the scene 1 up here, which is going to take us back to our original timeline. Now in our library, we now have a movie clip called Flying Hawk, and that's different from these. These are graphic symbols, and this is a movie clip. And the movie clip can have the sub animation of the wings flapping. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the first frame of the hawk layer, and then I'm going to grab the hawk, the movie clip hawk. Oops, that's actually the wrong one there. So here's this one. We want this one to come out, and we're going to drag it out here, and we're going to put it over here on the side. Now the bird's giant, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my properties, and with my height and my width and my height, I'm going to change that, and I'm going to lock these two together so whatever I do to one changes the other. So I'm going to make the width 100, and then that changes obviously the height as well. So now we have a relatively normal sized bird in relation to the landscape. All right, so I decided that it's going to take a couple seconds for the bird to fly from the left-hand side all the way across over here. So I've decided that it's going to take 4 seconds. So I'm going to come out to 96, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to insert a keyframe. Now in 96, I'm going to move the hawk from the left-hand side of the screen over to the right-hand side of the screen. Now, I don't want to have to do frame-by-frame animation here, so what I'm going to do is come back and click on frame 1, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to insert a a classic tween. Now, what that's going to do, it's going to have the bird fly across the screen. Now, you're probably saying, but Mary, why aren't the bird's wings flapping? All right, so there's some things that you cannot view in this current mode. We're in the design and develop mode. So if you want to see the bird actually flapping, we'd have to go to the control menu and pull down to test. And then there's our bird flying across the screen with the wings flapping. So remember, this bird is what we call a sub animation inside of a movie clip. So we're not going to see that until we use that command control test movie. So now what we're going to do is at 97, we're going to insert a blank keyframe, and that's going to make the bird disappear. Now we're going to come out to frame 120, and we're going to insert a keyframe, and we're going to bring the hawk back onto the right hand side of the screen, And again, it's going to be big, so I'm going to take it back down to, oops, wrong thing. Go to properties, come here, and I'm going to say 100, and that sizes it back. So I'm going to put it off the screen. Now, while it will be relatively funny for the bird to fly backwards, that's not really what we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform this. So I'm going to go up to modify, and I'm going to do transform, and I really just need it to flip it horizontally so it flies back straight. So now we're going to go up to frame 190, and we're going to insert a keyframe, and we're going to drag the bird all the way across the screen again. And if you want to have them fly down, you can do that. And then we're going to go back to 120, and we're going to insert a classic tween again. So now when I do control test, the bird's going to fly across the screen. It will be off the stage, then it will turn around and fly backwards. You notice that because it wasn't in the same exact position, it's kind of flying at an angle on the way back. Alright, so go ahead and save your work as your last name, CGA 118 homework 2, and go ahead and drop it in the e-learning Dropbox. If you have any questions, let me know. Come to my office hours, email me, we can arrange time to meet.